Welcome to The Shield Within. The issues discussed on the Shield Within podcast do not reflect the opinions of any specific agency. They are the views of the host and the guest. Any persons discussed may be fictional for comedic purposes only. This podcast is rated explicit and listener discretion is advised. Listening to The Shield Within may trigger repressed or suppressed memories or experiences. Please contact a mental health professional at your earliest convenience. It's time for the chaos to cease.
Time to open yourself to peace.
From the hours you've put in.
To the next shift you begin.
From the endless pursuit of release.
That finds the worst unleashed.
Transform the ugly into a win.
Get to know your shield within.
Welcome to the Shield Within.
Welcome, Mark.
So we have the lovely Miss Kelli with us this evening.
Hello. The Kelly, by the way.
That's right. She is the Kelli.
The Kelli.
She is the Kelli.
TK.
Yeah. So welcome back. You get to see our smiling faces, and I apologize because I'm trying to produce this and be the cameraman at the same time. We have a island in the middle of our studio here that we have a bunch of webcams on, so that's why I'm crystal clear and they're all blurry. So we're going to have to fix that shit here with the next time around. If you're on Facebook, and we know you are, please stop by and give us a like. We lost 3 people last week. So I went on to demographics and we had, can you believe 3 people unliked us? Come back, please. We miss you. I know.
What did we do?
I don't know. I mean, maybe too much shit in the morning. I don't know. I try to publish a new post every day, but, I don't know. So anyway, give us a like. We want to get 1,000 likes on Facebook. It's funny because they always tell us, well, we're monetizing you. Anyway, we ain't seen a fucking dime from you. So remember, if you want to do a podcast, and you think you're going to make $1 million, forget about it. Yeah, we've been at this, David, 3 or 4 years and still haven't made a dime. Anyway, but we do it. We do it for you, and we appreciate you, the fans. So we're getting into the realm of digital video. DJ Dave was down, so we're still perfecting this instead of having a big fisheye camera up on the side of the wall, which we may do that, but I don't know. But that we can see our smiling faces. So I'm doing my darndest here to switch us back and forth so you can see who's talking whenever we're doing that. Right now, I'm just randomly going around the room. So Facebook /ShieldWithin, give us a like. Thank you. Also, www.shieldwithin.com. If you're in need, please reach out and hit that coaching button or go to lessonslearnedcoaching.com. And you can work with Dr. David himself. We all love Dr. David, and we're kind of hoping he starts narrating books really soon. Patreon, we appreciate you. If you find a need to give, what this does for us is we're getting ready to make a large donation to the Chip Terry Fund. So we recommend it. Go to Chip Terry, dig deep, and give, because Joe Terry is saving lives every day. Her and Dr. Kruger, and then what they do is they help first responders out with the stellate ganglion block, but the Chip Terry Fund helps facilitate that. So we greatly appreciate them, and we're going to be helping them out. So hopefully I have Joe on the air real soon.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful.
Well, David, start us out.
Well, we had talked, about 3 of us, about the fact that you have prepared for your passing away by buying a cemetery plot, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, last episode we were talking about DC, so my mind's still in DC mode, but
we had a plan. A plan to put you on the plot.
That's right.
Sorry.
Susan and I went out this week. When you start talking about end of life stuff, you need to have a plan. And hopefully your department has issued you some type of packet to what to do when God calls you home.
Okay.
We had something there at Tip City that in the event we met our demise. What were your wishes? Do you want a line of duty death funeral? Do you not want a line of duty death funeral? My hard fast was, do not bury me in my fucking uniform. hard stop.
Yeah.
This is a job. I don't want to spend eternity in this bag. To me, that would be, that would be the ultimate cruelty is to have me spend the rest of my life in my uniform. But, have that open talk with your people. And my mother passed away 20 some years ago now. And we had cemetery plots around at the time where she was buried at. There was plenty of them, but they're starting to fill up. And I told my wife, I said, we really need to get up there and buy these plots. Where she's at, not the easiest place in the world to try and buy a plot from. So you kind of, you got to do the dance and make some phone calls. And then because it's the office where they're at isn't manned full time. The manager, literally, I think it's like 3 guys there that take care of that cemetery. So, okay, well, I'll do it tomorrow. So I was always putting it on the bottom of my priority list. I wasn't prioritizing it. So we went up there, and of course, coming into Memorial Day where we are right now, we're recording this mid-May or the 1st of May. So it's police week when we're doing this right now, which is the last episode of what we talked about. So I went up to my mother's grave and put flowers on the grave, and every year I put flowers on the Miami County's fallen's grave sites. So I ordered more flowers this year and took them up to my mom's. And so my wife and I are walking around. She's like, "Yeah, let's just get this done." I said, "I'll make the phone calls Monday," amongst the other phone calls. So like we talked about in the last episode, I'm going to work for Miss Kelli. She's the leader of our team, and I'm very proud to be working for her. She's a very extremely strong leader. She's very customer service oriented. Real estate is what we're doing. So hopefully we can say this episode is sponsored by
the Den Group.
That's true. If you're in Montgomery
I will
County.
make the deposit. And it's going to be more of a collaboration, not like working for me, by the way.
Well,
you're still an independent contractor with your own license. So
right.
I'm just going to let you be a part of the team.
Exactly. Allow me to join the team. But we have some really
we have a lot of great
exciting
ideas.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
We have a lot of super marketing ideas and I don't want to get down that rabbit hole. We'll do that in a minute. But it's great things are coming. And I often say, I want to do this because Kelli and I work so well together.
Yes.
Our energy it's fantastic. It's to me it's kind of like once in a lifetime. You always meet those people in life. And David, you've told me this through our work together when you're my therapist. How you just find that energy, and it's rare that you have people that you click with so well. And it's really a pleasure. When she worked on my team at the police department, Kelli was just such an asset, and she's such a professional. Every assignment that she got, she worked so hard at and was so successful with it. And she's just an inspiration to so many people. And I saw that leadership in her. And years ago, when her and Marc were talking about you flipping houses or whatever, and I said, "You should really get your real estate license." And do you remember what she said?
I'll never do that.
Exactly.
I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah. She's like, why would I do that? And I said, because you will set the fucking world on fire. I can tell you right now, with your drive, your ambition, and how you were going to just tear it up. And absolutely. And my prediction was spot on. And she's done exactly that. With the first brokerage she was with, she was top sales within 6 months or something like that.
3 months.
3 months. Top
3
producer.
months of getting my license.
Yeah, within 3 months she was a top producer.
Wow.
And that's really impressive.
Now I have a team of 5 3 years later.
Yeah, and she's done nothing but great things.
Well,
ever since.
August will be 3 years.
Is that right? Wow.
August 1st.
Wow. I'm not surprised, but but I'm
3 years.
I'm so humbled and honored to be able to be working with her again. It's a major. I don't want to say it's a major life change, but it's something I'm really excited about doing. It's something that I'm. Again, I think we're just going to set the world on fire. So I'm really.
It's way less stressful than law enforcement in a different way.
Well, right.
Yes.
So
Just hundreds of thousands of dollars you're dealing with. No
Right.
big deal.
But again, I guess I'm going to go with this, and then we'll go back to the end of life stuff. Officers that are listening to this show, if you feel like you're stuck somewhere, or you're thinking, I need to start thinking about what am I going to do here at the end of the career. This is kind of like a hand in glove transaction. And what do I mean by that? What do we do as police officers?
Sell our safety. We convince
Keep
the
going.
other party to be reasonable. And so we are salespeople of our own safety.
Yeah, exactly. So
Like,
you
treating
go
them
up,
with respect
you meet
and-
someone with you're treating them with dignity and respect.
Being
you-
firm but fair
exactly,
and negotiating.
you create that instant rapport.
Yes.
You help them overcome their objections.
You gain their trust.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing.
You explain the process
Yes,
and you fill out paperwork.
perfect. Keep going.
That's it. And then you sign really hard on all 3 copies.
Yeah, because you're going through several. But a lot of officers are thinking, what am I going to do with myself? I'm coming up and drop. What am I going to do? Just instead of being thrown out, naked and afraid into the world, this is a good way for you to be able to transition, and you can transition early. So we talk about the work-life balance. So we really need to be talking about our life-work balance.
Right.
And not the other way around.
And you still get to be a local celebrity.
Oh, absolutely.
Just now you're marketing in a different way.
That
And you have to rename yourself. You can't be like Officer Kelly
right.
anymore. You have to be like the Kelly.
Because it is a transition. I mean, you're transitioning from a life of real estate, but if you think like that there's nothing out there, but, all I've ever known was firearms. Yeah, put the firearms away. You can still have them. Good for you. But, you're helping people make that next major purchase in their life, and you're helping them really find the home where they're going to raise their family at and, achieve their dreams.
You can live vicariously through your old self too by clearing the houses for your clients. Just like busting through and slicing the pie on a vacant house. Can't say I haven't done that before. So we're feeling a little froggy today.
Well, but it's great that you bring that up because, they talk about, people who go out and they, they're virtually meeting a stranger for the first time with some clients.
Oh yeah, I get a phone call and I meet them at a vacant house in a neighborhood I don't live in.
Yeah, exactly.
Some risk
And I
is
tell
involved.
nobody.
Yeah.
I tell nobody I'm doing that. Meet you there. I don't even have their ID. And when I get there, I'm not running it. I have no power for leads.
Right. Yeah.
I just trust who they are, and
Kelly, the victim here.
I am always packing. I'm always armed.
Right. Well, but, getting back to, this is something you can transition through.
That sounded scary for a second. Real estate isn't that intense.
I peed a little bit.
Good. You should probably have some sort of, self-defense training if you are going to be meeting people that call you from the internet and you go into a vacant house with them.
Well, right. I mean, there's
Set up
been
your safety beacon on your showing time at least.
documented,
many
worst case scenarios that have happened.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
The human element can be absolutely the worst in life. But however, for those of us that spend our lives or spend our careers being vigilant, this is a great way to transition from law enforcement into this role. Because remember, we talk, I've talked about many times on our show, who makes the best cops? Well, waitresses and bartenders, because you're doing this. So you're taking cops and making salespeople out of them. And to me, there's a group here in Dayton, Ohio that have been very successful doing that. And
Do not name drop.
I'm not. But what I am getting ready to say is that the Den Group's going to absolutely kick ass.
Yep. We already are.
They are going to be smoking our rearview mirror, my man.
Adding Sarge. Well, our numbers blow them out of the water anyways, but who looks at that? But adding you to the team, you'll be the 3rd police officer.
Right.
To the team.
Right. And that's what we talked about.
To a team of currently 5.
Yeah. So,
you'll be 6.
We'll be like the fucking A team out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're going to have...
You'd be super safe on all your showings if you choose us.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, and then, Susan's a realtor. So she's joining the team.
She's already on the team.
Yeah, she's on the team.
Sainted Susan is on the team.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Did you know that, Dr. Dave?
I did not.
Oh, yeah. Sainted
cool.
Susan is on the team.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because she's got experience doing this kind of thing. So very good.
Very exciting.
Well, she's been a realtor
since 2016.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's bringing a lot of experience to the job.
Yep.
Right.
And she's licensed in 2 states. So...
Yeah, and kind of what we're wanting to do is, and I don't want to make this a 30-minute commercial, but
yeah, please don't.
Since
Don't
we're there,
share all our secrets. Share our marketing strategy here.
We have a residence in Florida. We're in Montgomery County area in Dayton, Ohio. So we can help people transition from Ohio to Florida. So hopefully,
it's a common practice.
Yes.
Well, a lot of retirees are moving. Because we still have state sales tax. And when you retire, you pay state sales tax on your fucking pension. So a lot of retirees are moving from Ohio to Tennessee and Florida because there are no sales tax down there. So, we can be able to help you do there. So back to our topic at hand. We went up to put flowers on my mother's grave, and we're walking around, and my wife's like, I think it's time to buy some plots. I said, I'll take care of it Monday morning after I get on my real estate stuff. Because I'm a procrastinator, So we want to flip back to getting that done. So I made some phone calls. I purchased our plots, and we're like one section away from where my mother's already there. My father will be there when he, goes home to be with the Lord. So I made the phone call to my brothers and said, we put this on for 20 some years. She died in 2001. The year I became a full-time officer, I was sworn in April, and she passed away December 31st. So it was a big year.
Yeah.
So I said, guys, it's probably time to start thinking about it, if that's where you want to be. I mean, So I got to looking at the plot where my parents had bought, and my dad owns 3 of them because they're in lots of 4.
Okay.
So one of the spots is open. So it's kind of funny. My brother's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be buried on the other side of her mother. And I said, oh, okay, cool. So I thought it was him. So I texted my brother Bob, and I said, hey, is that going to be you? Because there's one other spot that's available. So I was just going to go ahead and buy it. So come to find out that, my dad's since remarried, so he bought the other spot for, his current wife.
Gotcha.
So I said, okay, that's cool. So I thought, I'm just going to go ahead and buy the other one. So I ended up buying more than we needed.
What's the plan there? That's kind of creepy.
Actually,
just start buying.
Well, there's a method to my madness, and the method to the madness is that my aunt, who was best friends with my mother, she doesn't have anything prearranged. So I called her up and I said, we're just going to go ahead and put you there next to Mom. So she was very, very appreciative to where she called me, and she was very in tears. She's like, oh my God, that's so wonderful you did that. And
yeah.
Of course, so I had plenty of extras. I just went ahead and bought a whole 4 plots. So what I want to do is I want to get the stone set, get all that taken care of, because sadly, so we just went through the passing of my mother-in-law, and that's a lot of shit for the kids to deal with.
Oh my, the list of stuff you have to do. God.
Oh, it's daunting.
Yes.
How much stuff you got to do.
Yeah.
Not only cleaning the shit out of the house, and you got to and I can't recommend this enough. Go prepay for all your shit so your kids don't have to fucking deal with it, and get rid of everything early.
Right.
Yeah.
Because all you're going to do is I got to deal with all this stuff. I showed you guys. I got my living room half full of stuff. My garage is half full of stuff. It's not woe is me, but it gets down to let's have a plan. And we in the last episode we were talking about line of duty deaths, and having that talk with your loved ones, what you want, what's your final wishes, have your final arrangements, have something done. There's a plan there with the department where they want to do a line of duty death funeral, which is huge, or you can just have a private memorial there with just your family. And there's some people that do that too. Mm-hmm. So whatever you want or whatever your family wants is perfectly fine.
Right.
But it took some energy to get that done.
I remember at 23 filling out my line of duty packet when I got hired, and they ask you, like, who do you want to go and tell your mom? What officer do you want to tell your family? Or, who do you want to be carrying your casket? Like, all those questions. And I was like,
wow. Fuck, I don't know.
I was still on my high of getting hired at my dream job. Right. Because I wanted to be a police officer since I was 11. I didn't think about the death part like that. I mean, I knew it was obviously, I was aware, but you have to do that like within your first day.
Wow.
Just in case. So you have to fill it out, the whole packet.
Can you change it?
Oh yeah, I changed it. These guys, if there was a section, I remember when Dan was filling it out and he's like, Jimmy will mow my yard every other Tuesday. Like, we were filling it out like insane. Yeah,
that's
it was
funny. That is hilarious. But it gets down to, we shouldn't be doing that in the first week. I mean, that's stupid admin shit that someone wasn't connecting the dots.
Anything could happen tomorrow.
Well, right.
I haven't gotten permission to leave the department yet. I'm not even in uniform.
You haven't even cleared FTO yet. So
not even in uniform.
Departments, if you're listening, that's probably something you should do. After they've cleared probation, or you're sure they're going to be around for a while. I don't understand why we're doing this.
Anything could happen on your first day.
Oh, I know, and there's several stories to where officers were killed on the first day on the job. I get it,
right?
Yeah,
but I think you said it so eloquently. You're still on the high of being hired here, and someone's pissing all over your enthusiasm. It's like, hello, McFly.
Like, my duty belt's not even here.
Yeah. You have a fucking vest that fits you yet, and we're talking about planting you. What the fuck are you people thinking about?
Right.
This is shit that can wait. If you want to talk to these kids, let's assume they're going to make it to retirement and start telling them about how to invest better. That should be a part in our academy. Is start to invest as soon as you get in there, because they told me that shit, but I never took it fucking serious. So here I am at 60 years old, damn near, and I'm looking down the mountain thinking, fuck, if I got to go into a full-term care facility, I'm fucked. And then my wife goes in, and I've had people that's had both parents.
Oh yeah.
In a full-term care facility, that's $10,000 a month.
My dad's is $9,995 a month, so you're $5 off.
Right,
it's a big savings.
Well, he's not. He's a mobile, right?
He's what?
He's not able to walk.
Correct.
Yeah, so he has to do. He's full care.
Mm-hmm.
Is he in a room by himself? Can you say that?
He is.
Good for him.
He is in a room by himself only because he refuses to keep clothes on. And so they were like, if we put this man in another room.
Oh, wow.
in a mixed room,
would stuff him in a room with someone
I'm sure.
else.
Well, and when we were transferring him to this facility, so my dad refused to get the COVID shot. My dad literally has half of his working brain, and still was like, I don't trust it. No, we're not doing that. Actual brain damage, but still knew better. But he's always been that way. He's never been big in medicine. But so originally they were saying that they weren't taking anybody who was not vaccinated. And then they changed their mind after we had already moved on to the next, and we were just looking for a place to put him, of course. And they called back and they were like, well, we have this one room that just actually opened, and that could have been the truth. So they put him in the room originally alone because he was unvaccinated, and now they leave him alone because he stays unclothed. But they take great care of him. Like every time I go in there, and I drop in at different times, like the typical, so I'm not there every time in the morning. I'm not there every time in the evening or the afternoon. I just like really whenever I have an extra 20 to 30 minutes to just say hey. And sometimes I even drop in twice on the same day during the same shift. You can never be too sure. There are people too.
Very good. Yeah.
So, but anyway, so we're good there, but it's expensive. His Medicaid got canceled because this state sent him too much money. So the state was they're finding all this fraud, right?
Oh,
all
yeah.
these things. The state was still sending him, and the nursing home is his payee, but they were still sending him his full disability check every month.
And paying the nursing home.
So he had like over $12,000 in his account that he should maybe have a rolling $210 in. I mean, an exorbitant amount of money.
So did he have to pay it back?
So they said that we could either do a spend down, so like we could find things that he needed, but he enjoys laying in the nude in a bed with the same blankets. I mean, and we bought him 4 of the same blankets, so in rotation at the laundry, like he's a very simple man, and he just watches his Westerns. And we did buy a really nice lift chair because he started to do physical therapy, and that lasted about 2 sessions. So we went to private pay, and we did private pay for 2 months, and then they couldn't get him back on Medicaid. That was fun. And
oh my God.
Yeah, it was a whole shit show, but we figured it out. They worked with me really well. They were like, we're not going to throw him to the streets. We'll figure it out. I was like, you better. It was you did it.
Like you fucked it up. You better fucking figure it out.
You're his payee. What the actual hell? But yeah, so they figured it out. But it was they ended up taking 2 payments of $9,995, and they are paying themselves back still from his $50 allowance every month because he gets his haircuts for free. So my sister-in-law does it for us.
Nice.
Yeah, so pretty simple, but probably not enjoyable.
Well, I can't. You're just existing at that point in the game, I think. But
got him a little squirrel picnic table outside his the little squirrels come up to the picnic table and eat corn sitting at the picnic table. It's the small things that you start appreciating when you don't have your legs.
Well,
he has his legs. They just don't work.
Yeah.
Right.
David,
anyway,
what do you got for us?
Well, I think I have a gentleman I'm coaching with who's lives in the area. He's around 60. And he grew up in a family that was very poor. And he came out of that family very determined to not be poor. And so he's lived a life where he's not been poor. He's good. His family's good. His marriage, his kids, and so forth. So he's had this career. It's been very successful. His girls are adults. He and I talk a lot about what happens after you retire. When do you do that? And what do you do after you retire?
Right.
And it just seems like such a logical thing to what are you going to do about your death? And when I have a new doctor, she started about a year ago, and she asked me, that was the first question she asked me, was, okay, you're 72 years old. What are you going to do when you pass away? Do you have your advanced directives done? And I'm like, I have my funeral, and that's it. She said, well, then I'm going to give you the paperwork. And every state's got their own paperwork. So you can get this, I would guess, from your doctor, from online, whatever, but there's all these things you have to prepare for. And I'm thinking, fire, police, EMTs, first responders, dispatchers, I'm sure too. You're not going to do this job forever. There's going to be a time.
Right. What? What do you mean I'm not going to be a cop forever?
I know, it's stunning. But this moment could happen at any point, like Kelly's reported with when she started the first day. They asked her, who do you want to carry your casket?
Yeah. Welcome.
Can I tell you that tomorrow? Right. Can I have overnight to think about that? I'm thinking, if your line of duty, suicide too, you could end up in a hospital bed with machines keeping you alive.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a definite possibility.
Absolutely. And so making a decision now within your own self, with your partner and so forth, children and so forth, about what that you want them to do when you get to that point, seems like a really reasonable thing to consider and dialogue to have. And then for my family and for many others, burial, like you're talking about, Mark, isn't really a desirable option. So my mom, after much discussion, we donated her body to OSU Medical School.
Oh, wow.
And that meant we had zero expenses for her funeral. And they cremated her remains, and that was that. Mm-hmm. And my dad, when he passed away several years ago, he was cremated as well. And so that's what I purchased for myself 30 years ago, is my cremation. And then my thought about that is, find a creek, a tree, a litter box where the cat shit is fine with me.
God.
Spread my ashes wherever the hell you want to. It doesn't matter to me.
Right.
I'm going to be long gone and won't come back to visit, most likely. So I'm not going to care. So to me, cremation's the way to go. But again, the point is to have the decision inside yourself, the discussion inside yourself, the awareness of yourself being mortal. You're going to pass away.
Right.
And most of us don't live in a vacuum. Passing away means impact on other people.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so having a dialogue with the people that matter the most to you about what you want to have happen. Where do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? How do you want the living will thing? How do you want that to work for you? If you're living in a bed being kept alive by machines, how long do you want that to go on?
Oh, my God. And my kids have had hard, fast rules. To me, living is doing this, podcasting, being with friends, being with, getting out and actually experiencing things. If I'm strapped to a bed, that's not living.
Right.
And I made it very clear to them that, pull the plug. Mm-hmm. Pull the plug and plan me. Mm-hmm. And the reason why that is that, the sharpest knife cuts the quickest. Mm-hmm. All it is a prolonged death. And they talk about how tragic Alzheimer's is because they call it the long goodbye.
Right.
And how many times the medical profession, well, we need to keep you alive. And no, you don't.
No.
Mm-hmm. If I have a terminal illness, let's get this over with. Let's get this done.
Right.
And I kind of sound like a fatalist when I talk about that, but let's be real with things. Watching someone suffer, over and over, I guess, for a prolonged period of time, to me, that's kind of cruelest form. Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're not making it out alive anyways.
Well, exactly.
You're you're ruining the last, what could be a couple good months or a couple good weeks.
Exactly. I'm not going to use his name. We'll just call him the Colonel. And if you know, you know. Mm-hmm. His father, I went to or responded on a medic call. His father had fallen. And I went over there and helped him off the floor, and they checked him out. And he's like, I'm good. Just get the fuck out of here. I just fell. So he was sharing with me that his dad was diagnosed with cancer, and his father had watched his mother suffer for the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Let's do the chemo. And of course, now I'm reflecting with, the experience I had with my mother, going through chemo, and she would just get so sick. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I don't know what's worse, the cancer or the chemo.
Right.
So he decided that I'm not doing anything. I want to have 2 good years instead of 8 miserable ones.
Right.
But that's your decision. That's your decision how you want to do things. And I've told my kids, pull the plug and plan me. That's the motto. But we need to have things ready to go.
Right.
And do you have your property in a trust? Do you have your benefactor set up? Who's going to be in charge of all the affairs? And David, how many times have you said how many families have been ruined by death because they start squabbling over shit?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
When my uncle passed away, I don't speak to my aunt anymore.
Right.
Because it was every time I called her, it was about money, and it was weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your husband just died, and she's fighting her children over money, and I don't know. To me, that was
it's sad.
Yeah, it was a whole different. I look at her in a different light.
Yeah.
Because it was this fight for money, and from day one.
Right. And
they didn't have anything set up.
Yeah.
So.
And what's money? It's the root of all evil.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how many families have been just ripped apart because of that financial end, take that away.
Yeah.
Set that aside. If I want you to have it, I'm going to give it to you now.
And I fully believe that if it was already planned and everything was already filled out and set, that it wouldn't have been that. And then everybody could have equally been able to grieve rather than this rat race for $1.
Yeah, you could celebrate the life versus having to fight one another over the money. Why are you fighting over the money? Because you're fucking greedy is a reason why.
Yeah.
There's some things, out of my own family that just didn't sit well with me, but I find it easy to forgive that.
Yeah.
That's to me, it's just not worth that. So, to kind of do your kids a solid is get all that done early. Get it done so you don't have to think about it. My kids, with our properties, everything's going into a trust. Told my daughter, give the cars to whoever you want, sell them. I don't give a shit. I'm a car guy. Hopefully, or take them with you, ship them wherever. But you have to figure out who in your family tree is the most responsible to be able to take over your affairs once you're gone. Because like what you said, David, I don't give a shit. I'm dead. What do I care? Happens here.
Right.
But I guess what we're saying here is have a plan and implement it. So and I really like that's kind of a beautiful thing you said, Kelly, was let your family be able to have that time to breathe and grieve. That's just such a great, powerful statement. So they can really concentrate on the family aspect and one another versus having to, let's worry about the money. Where's the money here? Where's this? I want that diamond ring or whatever.
Right.
Money tends to ruin everything. And if I want you to have it, I'm going to give it to you. I'd rather give it to you while you're living, while I'm living, so I can see you enjoy it.
Right.
Versus you doing whatever after I've passed.
Well, there's a difference between giving something to someone and it just ends up in their hands.
Right.
When you're giving something to someone, it has meaning.
Right.
I mean, you intend to give that specific thing to that specific person, and then you make sure you do it. Or, when I go, it'll end up with one of the kids.
Right.
The kids will fight each other.
Yeah. They will.
And if you thought about it for 5 minutes, you'd know, oh my God, they never did get along, did they?
Right. Right. Well, but it's simple things. I have maybe up there on top, there's a little coffee pot that my grandmother had that always had some significance. It's a 1 or 2 cup coffee pot, and they were going to throw it away. But to me, it meant a lot because that was
your memory of her.
Yeah, that was her and I. Sitting there on Saturday morning, having breakfast. She'd make breakfast, and that's what she made her coffee with.
Same coffee.
So that was a really wonderful memory I had from growing up. Right. So it does. It's like I said, it's broke. It isn't worth anything. It's chipped up. But to me, it's special to me.
Right.
There's a hand drawn photograph that's hanging in my kitchen that my grandfather, who I never met, he just took a pencil out one day and it's on the back of a placemat from a restaurant, and the picture that he drew it of is right there with it. It's of my mother when she was like 4 or 5 years old.
Oh wow.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
But and it's like I said, my house burns down. Grab that picture and that coffee pot.
Get out.
And that's what you get. Everything else can fucking burn. I don't care. Everything else is replaceable. That shit isn't replaceable.
Yeah.
But, have things like that and tell the story of life. And it's something that is so important. So that's a good segue back to Police Week. Honor, remember. That sacrifice and the work that you did, the work that we did. We don't get awards for working overtime, did we, Kelly?
No.
We don't get awards for, spending time away from our family. And, in the time we left the department, it's just like taking your hand out of a bucket of water.
You actually got repercussions from your family.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
You're like, I'm making so much more money. And they're like, don't care. You've missed every breakfast, every dinner, every game. I'm like, I have so much money though. Yeah, exactly. Let's get back again, that good life work balance and try and find that balance. And
in finding that, that's where we need to look at, let's make those plans today. And it doesn't have to be the first day on the job, like Kelli said. I'm still reeling from the fact, hey, I met my goals, I met my accomplishments. So let's let that simmer for a little bit, and let's let these young ones, be happy with the fact that they made it through the academy, which is 6 months of fucking hell.
Right.
It's like drinking from a water hose. Let's let them get in here and get their feet wet.
Right.
And then during the first year, probably 6 or 8 months onto the job, say, hey, let's sit down and let's start thinking about, what do you want in the event you meet your
demise.
Yeah. And then have that stuff set up.
I'm kind of the same. I want to be cremated. I don't mind to be donated to science. I know a couple people that have done that before. But I don't know. There was a friend growing up it wasn't a friend, more so of an acquaintance. But when he passed away, they did a natural burial. Have you ever heard of it? Where they just wrap you in this biodegradable cloth, like a mummy, and they use rope and they tie you off, and then they plant you. Like
with a tree?
Kind of, yeah. Huh. It's in Preble County. It's like one of the only ones. It's like a natural burial, but they don't embalm the body or anything. It's just a natural.
Right.
And so I'm like, I think I could probably get behind that, but it's my understanding they still have to have a plot. You still have to have a natural burial plot assigned to you.
Right.
And, so I don't know. There's so many different things you can do.
Right.
You can be you can be planted as a tree.
Right.
I've seen that. Or just a traditional burial. But my friend, her son passed away. They cremated him, and then they buried his urn.
That's happens
like in the memorial gardens. Yeah.
Yeah, you inter the ashes.
Yeah.
So there's a permanent record there of where they are. And a lot of people's like, well, I'll just spread the ashes. There's some parks where it says, do not spread ashes here.
Oh, yeah. And then they just go out when they're not looking and do it anyway.
Right. Yes.
You're like, you're really not supposed to put them in waterways.
Right. So, but, it's what you're wanting there at the end. Be sure you're doing everything legally. I mean, we have to say that because we're worldwide here on the Shield Within.
Yeah, don't just be spreading anywhere.
Yeah, don't be spreading that shit everywhere. And it's kind of a mess. I saw a video the other day of a cowboy that wanted to take his last ride on his favorite horse. So they put him in.
I saw that.
Did you see that?
And the horse was running, and the ashes were just like coming behind the
out
horse.
Of the saddle.
Yeah, I saw that.
I felt kind of bad for the animal at first. I'm thinking, ugh, because horses are very empathic.
Oh yeah. I just thought it was a little close to everybody.
Yeah, because there was people on both sides of it.
And it's like the dust. Dr. David, it was a little close for comfort, but I was like, I get it. But it was a viral video. But I was also like holding my breath from behind my phone, like,
I don't
breathe that in.
Shit in.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But it was kind of poetic, the horse. And once the horse got done, it ran it back to the barn.
It did, yeah.
I thought that was
pretty cool.
Next. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else you got for us, sir?
Yeah. Well, all of what we're talking about starts with you being honest with yourself and having a conversation with yourself about your own reality.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to die. All of us are going to die. It's the only thing that's inevitable. So, have an honest conversation with yourself about that truth. What do you prefer? What do you want to be the end game? How do you want it to look? Have a conversation with your spouse, your children, your significant others, whatever. Make sure those questions are answered before. It prevents an awful lot of conflict down the road. And you get to decide how it's going to go. You're going to go out on your terms. And no, you may not choose the hour and manner of your death, but you can choose what happens after that. And that, to me, relieves the burden of everybody around you having to make those decisions about you. Do that for yourself now.
Yeah.
What a great way to wrap up. Kelli, what do you got for us?
I love it. Just be responsible. It's a responsible thing to do ahead of time. Like you said, so your family can grieve and don't have to worry about it, don't have to fight about it. I mean, I've seen it in real estate. I've seen it As a police officer, people get to make, when you're an adult, you get to make your own decisions. Okay. And so make those decisions while you still can. Right. That's one of the cool things about being here in America is we get to make our decisions. If I want to get medical care, I can. If I want to get chemo, if I get cancer, I can, or I don't have to. And that's ultimately my choice as an adult, and also what happens with my belongings and my legacy and all of that as well. So don't discount it for yourself, for sure.
Right.
It's a great way to wrap it up,
bro.
Just to send us out, I can't echo anymore what you guys did. Remember, officers, if you don't know, I believe it's your federal death benefit if you die in the line of duty is $345,000. The FOP generally kicks in another $100,000.
Okay.
Your city should kick in about the same.
Okay.
When I was working, I had a term policy, so literally, if I died in the line of duty, Susan would have been a millionaire. Thank goodness we have another plan. God always has a plan for you, but you just don't know what the roadmap is, and that's what gets frustrating. But I think that He kept us alive that night for a reason.
Right.
And I think that that plan's coming to fruition now, and I'm super excited about that with the next chapter here of Kelli and I working together. I'm really excited about moving forward with that.
Let me kick something in real quick on that.
Sure.
So you were talking about the federal death benefit and the FOP and things like that. The department never told me about those things. I would have never known about it if Sergeant Mark Basie didn't tell me about it.
Wow.
So let me be really clear. They don't explain that to you. There is nobody that says, oh, by the way, these are all the things. You just hope that your department has somebody that's with it. You hope your union rep has somebody that knows what they're doing or has experience with it. As an officer, it's also your responsibility to make sure that you now know, if you're listening to this, ask those questions, figure out where that is, and give it to your spouse.
It's stunning. They want to know who you want to carry your casket.
Correct.
But they don't give you that information.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a lot.
Yeah. I forgot about that until you said that. I was like, yeah, they kick in 100,000. Why do I know that? Because
it's because I told you guys
told us that.
Getting into those morbid end of what happens. It's just like with if you go into the drop program, you're retired, and as far as the feds are concerned, sorry, you're retired.
And you're the first one that told us too. If we're on a special duty, it's not the same. It's not the same either.
Exactly. If you're out working special, because at that time our agency, we weren't being paid.
We were 1099.
Yeah, it was a 1099 job. And if you got hurt on that job, because they weren't paying workman's comp benefits.
Right. Tough shit.
And that wasn't kicking in.
I thought about that with the deputy that was just ran over on a special duty.
Exactly.
That was one of the first things that I thought about. I was like, a special duty detail. I really hope they meant an overtime extra shift. But he was recently retired as well.
He just retired.
I know.
And came back to work. And was doing special duty. And he was at Cincinnati University directing traffic.
For graduation.
And our guest that was supposed to be here tonight, her kids were graduating.
Yeah.
They were there. And that person that ran him down drove by, saw him out there. You're working a traffic detail, you're busy. And that motherfucker ran him down with his back turned to him.
Yeah.
And, thoughts and prayers go out to the agency and the family, and everybody had to work that scene. It's not a war. We are civil servants, everyone.
Right.
We are not at war with you.
Yeah.
If you live peacefully and honorably, you will never see us. But if you're out stealing my fucking car and carjacking my family, I expect our brothers in blue to come dispense some fucking justice.
May your days and nights find you strong and safe. May you take your place as your family's face. As you do the shit that we won't do. As you embrace the risk you must go through. May you grow in strength and heal and find your heart, your soul, and your mind. You look at your life and grin. You have a home, the shield within.